Tonight has more questions than answers for dispensary workers 1 week out of a job after a surprise hearing in Menominee brings no clear answers as to whether the 3 dispensaries shut down last Friday will be allowed to open back up anytime soon. Local 3's Skylar Perkins heard from one young mother of 2 about her outlook as dispensary managers, lawyers, and owners lay blame where they see fit.
It has been 1 week since 3 of the 5 newly opened dispensaries in Menominee were closed after a judge's order sent police officers to Lume, Love and Nirvana, telling employees to stop operating the stores immediately. Now, the dozens of employees who helped open those stores just weeks ago are left searching for a way to make ends meet. The store manager of the new Lume location says it was one of the hardest days he's had on the job.
I have almost 30 employees and was planning on hiring another 10 to 15. And to tell those almost 30 people, like, I don't have work for you to do right now was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a store manager. There were a lot of tears shed. People were very upset.
Morgan Genak was working behind the counter at Nirvana when their location was shut down on Friday.
And so what exactly happened was we were all, doing our transactions and stuff, and then all of a sudden we got swarmed with people, and I was just like, what's going on? We've never been this busy before. And then they were like, oh yeah, all the other dispensaries are shutting down. The cops are going there and shutting them down. And I'm like, what? All of a sudden my manager comes in, he's like, everybody needs to stop transactions right now and everybody needs to leave, including the employees and the customers. And I was like, and then I look up at our window that we have there and there's 2 police officers standing at the desk.
Now we're told some of the dispensaries are offering shifts at other locations for employees who can make the long commute.
I do have employees filing for unemployment.
Unemployment benefits are likely only an option for a small minority of those workers, given how long you have to be working at a job to be eligible.
I don't think anybody that started working at the Menominee store could apply for unemployment through them because we've only been open for a month.
As the former budtenders try to keep their bills paid and food on the table, Higher Love offers this sign to customers, pinning dispensaries Rize and the fire station for why their employees are out of luck and why their new customers have to go elsewhere. On the other side, a lawyer for Rize places the blame squarely on the people who hired them.
I've heard they've made allegations about we're responsible for people losing their jobs, and that's just an utter lie. That's complete BS. The judge told them not to open. They hired people knowing that they were violating the law. And when the judge shut them down, they're trying to blame us. And nothing could be further from the truth.
Now, it is true Rize and the fire station did ask Judge Bargland to shut those businesses down. In fact, they pushed for that as early as August when the companies first filed their lawsuits. To get some perspective on their accusations, we should go back to what brought them to the courtroom in the first place. While the details get murky very quickly, the footnotes are these. In 2021, 2 dispensaries were picked out of over a dozen to be awarded the city's, at the time, only marijuana business licenses. Within a few days, a handful of the losing applicants, with Lume, Love, and Nirvana among them, promptly sued the city in an effort to get their own stores open there. And a filing from those companies prevented Rize and the fire station from opening, while the courts heard arguments over the next year and a half. Then in May of this year, Judge Bargland threw out that case, paving the way for Rize and the fire station to finally open up shop. Around the same time, the city council voted to settle that first lawsuit. Despite having won the case, the deal they made was that the city would eliminate limits on marijuana business permits, and the companies would foot the legal fees if the city was sued over it. Over the summer, the ordinance was changed, Rize and the fire station opened, and Lume, Love, and Nirvana got the permits they were after. That brings us to August, and to the 2 lawsuits brought by Rize and the fire station. The lawsuit filed in state court says the city had, among other things, violated the Open Meetings Act, and while the city's mayor said the violation was a simple failing to call roll, the accusations seem to go further than that.
It's a pattern of avoiding doing important government work in front of the public. They had a series of special meetings where they post notice within 36 hours. They violated rules there. They talked about things in closed session, which they shouldn't talk about.
Judge Bargland was swayed enough by the evidence that she ordered another injunction, acting with the same purpose as the one she ordered in 2021, then in favor of Lume and the other failed applicants, trying to freeze the business developments since, quote, irreparable harm could be caused to Rize in the fire station. When it comes to who's to blame for the fate of people like Genak, Cox says the owner of Lume, Love, and Nirvana likely knew they were hiring people to work at stores that had a good chance of getting shut down.
Essentially, yes. Look, Judge Bargland the judge in Menominee. She's been there for 25 years. She's well respected. This was the outcome of litigation that's been ongoing for really 2 years.
So then the question is, why are employees saying these closings came as such a shock? And when did the companies talk seriously with their employees about how the lawsuit could affect them? Did you ever discuss that, even as far as how to talk to customers about it, discuss the lawsuit with any of the employees?
Well, that's a great question. But since I'm not a lawyer, I kind of let them handle all of that legal stuff. I don't really try to answer too many of those questions for the customers or the employees.
Over at Nirvana, the situation doesn't sound much different.
I think it actually was probably a week before we got shut down. So they didn't really keep us updated about anything that was going on. The only person that knew was probably the store managers, the district manager, and the attorney.
And, the people who hired the store manager, they really ought to be ashamed of themselves because they knew that the judge was likely to shut them down.
We asked Lume's Menominee store manager if, in hindsight, he wished he had said more to his employees so they could have been better prepared.
That's a great question. I don't like to ever look on the past and think, oh, I regret this or I want to change that. Not to mention my staff, I think with the way they were keeping up on the news and that information, they knew that we were in the middle of a fight. And so their main goal and my main goal has always been just show that we're the best around. And as long as we're demonstrating that we have the best quality product at the best quality price, what reason would they ever have to, shut us down?
For Rize, Cox summarizes Higher Love's accusations and the whole situation like this.
This is really a function of millionaire owners lying to their employees and blaming another company for what they did wrong.
But one thing I can tell you about the legal side is what a lot of people forget is when they see these lawsuits come through, they hear Lume or they hear another store. They don't establish a face with that name. It's like a faceless corporation. And what they don't realize is behind that faceless corporation, though, is 30 employees who are now basically out of work. They're trying to go to work. They're trying to make money. They're trying to support their family. And now they can't. And so these lawsuits, that's who they hurt the most.
And while lawyers are playing the blame game in the courtroom, others are just looking for hope in any direction they can find it.
A coworker next to me burst out in tears because she's like, I left my job for this and I was hoping it would last longer and I can't get that position back because they already replaced me. And I'm just like, that really sucks. And I wish they would have said something beforehand because, like I mentioned before, a lot of us are parents. We have kids to care for.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
In Menominee, Skylar Perkins, Local 3.